Hello, and welcome back to me playing The Sims. I feel like I should definitely start this with my name, but haha, I don't want to. Whatever. Um, this is a little house I made. It's called Pinebrook. It is a three-bedroom, one-bathroom house that I designed for a family of about 3 to 5 Sims and some pets, and it costs about 91,348 simoleons. So it's not the most affordable house, but I don't care. I think it's cute. And that's really just what I wanted to go for. I just wanted to make what was essentially, I shouldn't call it junk food, but like creatively just something fun and not like super ambitious or out there because in the moment that's what I wanted to do. Speaking of the moment, I built this 3 months ago. I built this a while ago in October because I was like, oh, I want to build a couple things and I want to like just get things done that I can share with people, but I don't necessarily have time to record, kind of thing. And it was this, and it was an apartment that I shared a while ago, and I just kind of put off sharing this for a while because I like went home for the end of my semester. You don't care about that. That's not the exciting part. What is kind of exciting is there was some Sims news released recently. I'm not super thrilled or like enthusiastic about it just because like it's all stuff about like infants and like new packs, and the new pack looks like it's probably like a family gameplay focused one, which I mean like that's cool. I'm just not like super into that kind of stuff. But it doesn't look like anything, like disastrous. That said, I literally don't know because almost no information has been shared about it, but whatever. It was just a roadmap. It was like a couple images of like the infant update, some kits, and uh, a new pack, which is a picture of a bear. I'm gonna be completely honest. I'm not. I'm not like dissing a new pack coming out, but I'm also not like super thrilled. But that's just entirely me. I don't like children. Not like in a edgy millennial. Ooh, I don't like children. I'm not like other people. No, I don't. It's not how I play the game. It's not something I'm super enthusiastic about. But like, hey, I'm not upset. It's cool. Whatever. That's not me being passive aggressive. I just like uh I got other things to worry about in my life. And like I like the game as it is. I think there's enough to do in the game without like getting new content specifically catered to me. So like there's nothing to be upset about. But yeah, this build is coming along now. I'm finally starting on the kitchen, and this is the kind of idea I had going into this was something with autumnal vibes, just like a kind of cozy family house. I remember back in October when I built this, I had been watching builds that people were making that were specifically like, oh, this is my autumnal family house. And I definitely captured some of that in like my design, specifically in the color scheme, which ends up being very brown, very like muted dark green, and like kind of like earthy tones, which to be fair is one of my favorite color schemes. Like you may have seen for like a half a second I considered using a dark green refrigerator, and I was like, no, this is specifically something that someone else used in a build, and I was like, I'm gonna make sure I'm not like accidentally directly copying someone else. But I did make this very brown and green color scheme, which in my defense is probably one of my favorite color schemes just like in general to design with. I feel like it's something that just comes together really easily just because it's natural colors and they look nice together already. But yeah, and I really honed in on that in the kitchen where I did like the green backsplash, the brown counters and the brown tiles or brown cabinets, black countertop, brown tiles, black appliances, and like a warm metal toned sink. Yeah. But the kitchen was pretty simple. I tried to make it like spacious enough that you could have a family here and you could have multiple people cooking at once. I think I might have kept multiple countertop spaces open for that. I, for the life of me, cannot remember if I did. Again, I built this several months ago. I have been very busy in those several months. Not like unreasonably busy, just school stuff. But yeah, anyway, kitchen's almost done. I did try and have a breakfast table in here. I was kind of obsessed with having a breakfast table for some reason, which is silly because I have a dining room right next door, and that ends up having plenty of space for all the Sims here, which again was like 3 to 5. So they're not hurting for space at that dining table, and I can't really think of a time when you would have enough guests over in your house all sitting at the table at once. Because if you had like a dinner party or something, I do end up having a breakfast table with like, some extra seats, and also you can just banish them to like your living room and just like stand eating. So like whatever. Anyway, the other reason I mentioned like the new roadmap was I was thinking, would this house be like cool for that kind of gameplay? Because I did playtest the house. I made sure that like they could access all of the necessary parts of everything, and I tried to design it with enough space that you weren't super like crowded when you were trying to route Sims around doing things like trying to interact, like talk and do the like kissing and hugging sort of animations and interactions. So I usually try and leave space for that just because like whenever like on the off chance I build something and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna play in this just with Sims, like multiple Sims interacting. It does sometimes happen where I just don't have space for them all to move around and do stuff. So I try and leave space for that. Anyway, this was the dining room I mentioned earlier. I very much continued that color scheme, and this is where I think it really kind of took off of like the earthy tones because the rug in there. I don't do it quite yet, but I end up toning it to be more of like this kind of dark, like orangish brown, almost terracotta color, like similar to the color of that couch. And I think it goes really nicely. But again, you can see I'm kind of doing the same thing in the living room, except here I'm injecting some red from like the rug. I and I don't know, I just like how this looks. I think this is just a good color scheme. It's just my vibe. And also you can tell I made this in October because I put like some Thanksgiving or like autumnal themed cards on the fireplace, which I'll be honest, is actually something I do in real life. Like, in my family, whenever we get birthday cards or Christmas cards or like my parents' anniversary or whatever, we put the cards on like the top of the piano or on the china cabinet or something, so you can just see them whenever you're in the house, which I think is just a really nice thing, and it's definitely something that like I hope I'm able to do as I like establish myself in my own place as an adult. Just because it's festive, it's fun, and it's low effort being festive. Anyway, I think this is probably like the last room where it's not the last room, never mind. This is another room where I really hone in on like that same color scheme. So I really just like committed to the bit and I was like, if you step foot in this house, you're going to experience this sort of like brown and dark green and earthy tone autumnal vibe every step of the way. But again, I there's no problem with that. It's nice. It looks nice, and I end up toning the lights kind of like a warmish yellow, and I think that really ties it all together and like encapsulates and solidifies that sort of vibe. Also because like whenever you have like really warm toned or like really cool tone, like really strong colored lighting, it begins to drown out other colors and they start to look more similar, which in this case is nice. In real life, maybe not so much because like it starts to look kind of wacky unless you're trying to have like some wacky like dark room lighting or something, but whatever. Anyway, you can see here that I have two living spaces. I decided to have two living spaces just because I felt it would be good to have that separation. Like, just thinking of this realistically, it's good to have the separation of like, here's a space where adults can like entertain and like meet with each other, and where you can have like that more formal area or like a more formal way of living and presenting yourself to your guests by having this be immediately when you enter the house versus something like this, which is more like this is more for entertaining guests if it's like your kids invite their friends over or like you have like close family over or something or just like a more casual living space. And honestly, that's something I kind of like. That's what my parents have set up in our house. And while we don't have like the most formal of guests coming over. Like we don't invite like the mayor over to our house or anything. It is still nice sometimes to like have someone come in the house real quick, just like to chat, to like drop something off and just like talk for a little bit versus having like your friends over to like hang out and like play video games. You can take that to the back of the house and have arguably like a bit more privacy. But that's just me overthinking the Sims, whatever. And now this is the last room that I did downstairs. You can probably tell like the whole downstairs is one fairly cohesive like color scheme and design idea. This is the office because I was imagining this was a family house and that one of the parents is some sort of like academic or writer, just like someone who for their line of work and like what they do with themselves requires this sort of private space where they can come and they can do their work, which I assume is like, this is important work. This is what keeps our family affording this house, puts dinner on the table. I don't know if they're the primary breadwinner or if it's the other parent. I don't know what the other parent does, whether they're like working outside of the home, working at home, working at all. It's just like it's not something I really considered when I was building this. I was like, oh, put a double bed, put some adults in here. It could even be one parent. I don't know. That's up for you to decide. But I liked this space. It was this kind of quiet, tucked away space, also next to that formal living room, so you don't have sound bleed from like the kids yelling and hanging out and stuff. And I also put a cat bed in here because I imagined that this family has multiple cats, and one of the cats is just really close with the person who works in there. Um, I kind of wanted them to have like cats and a dog, and I told myself I wanted to put a dog in when I was when I was putting the food bowls down in the kitchen, and then I immediately forgot. Maybe like I got up and like had to go like do laundry or something. And I just paused the recording and I came back, but it was completely gone from my brain. But you know what? That's okay. I guess you could just like have the dog sleep on the floor, or just like make it be one cat and one dog, and they have a small dog, and the dog sleeps on like the little small pet bed in the office, maybe. Yeah. But anyway, this is where I begin to actually play with the lighting and make it more of like this cohesive kind of yellowish tone. And I feel like you can more so see it downstairs than upstairs because upstairs is all of these like saucer lights and there's a lot lighter walls, so it's less so like I guess kind of like meshing well with that kind of warmish lighting, and more it still just looks like a white wall, but whatever. Anyway, this is the parents' bedroom. I made it fairly simple. I didn't want to go too over the top with it just because at this point, this wasn't where I was feeling kind of burnt out. Because admittedly, I believe I did this all in one sitting. But at a certain point, I was feeling kind of like I don't know how to decorate spaces for individuals. I only know how to like decorate spaces for like the whole family, and I just didn't know what to do with myself anymore. So for the bedrooms, I more so went like color scheme and vibes rather than like specific personalities. But the bathroom I did clutter up a bit because I there's no such thing as a clean bathroom. I've never been to someone's house and seen like a completely clean bathroom unless it was like their hall bathroom, and even then, it's only so clean. You still have to like have stuff down there. But because this is the only bathroom in the home, I made sure it was decently cluttered so it looks like 4 or 5 people have been sharing this. Which, okay, theoretically, you can have 4 or 5 people share a bathroom and it be totally fine. But that all hinges on the ability of the people sharing the bathroom to like be respectful of each other and the time that they need in the morning or whatever to get ready and whatnot, and not to hog the bathroom or just like stagger your wake ups or whatever, which I know it's not always possible. It's like I did that in high school where I would wake up like significantly earlier than like my mom and my brother. So like my dad would wake up and he would feed the cats. I would wake up, my mom would wake up, my brother would wake up, and by that point my sister had already moved out. So like that kind of worked out. Or even like in college, um, quite frequently I would have like 8 a.m. classes, and so I would be waking up really, really, really early, like waking up so that I could go eat breakfast at 7 a.m. And so I was one of the first people in the bathroom. Sometimes I was like the first, and I would know I was the first because I would go in and the lights would turn on because they have automatic lights in like public. They're essentially just public bathrooms, but with like a shower. And so I would be like the first person in there, and it'd be dead quiet sometimes. But anyway, this was the I don't know if I mentioned, but this was a bedroom I was thinking for like two like younger boys, like 9 to 12, um, kind of in that point in their lives where they're not sure who they are as like people yet. They just know that they like certain things. Like they might like earth science and like volcanoes and stuff. They might like animals. They might like I don't know. They like things, but they're not like committed to things and making it their identity in the same way that you would when you're either a bit younger or just a bit older. So they're in that kind of like discovering yourself phase. And I think that was kind of fun to. I don't think I like super like clearly showed that, but I think you can kind of tell that like there's no cohesive like theme like hobby wise. It's more just like a vibe. And then this is the last bedroom. I think it's my favorite bedroom. It was for I was imagining like a teenage girl who has ultimately like a bit of a softer, like color wise, a softer aesthetic with some kind of pale. I don't know if you call these pastels. I'm honestly not sure what pastel colors look like, but kind of pale, peachy tones and also some brighter pinks. And I ended up giving her a guitar, and I feel like this was be someone who's a bit more musically inclined, a bit more of a creative type, but also being a teenager is a bit more of like a rebellious, like I want to try out my own design styles, you can't control me sort of vibe. So I have like some skateboards on the wall, and oh, I didn't end up using that beaded curtain. Oh, whatever. But yeah, I tried to. Oh, I also put like some soccer stuff. So I was thinking this is someone who like legit just like plays soccer and isn't like I don't know what they aren't. I'm sorry that fell apart. I was thinking this was someone who is like into sports and stuff, and also someone who is a bit creative. Um, and so I tried to show that as best I could. And then on the desk, I just put some things like the reference hand, and I know I ended up putting like some books and stuff. This was definitely around where I was kind of getting burnt out on like decorating rooms for specific individuals, because like I remember just being completely puzzled and stumped like what do teenage girls put on their dressers, oh my god. But we got there, we finished the build eventually. Yeah, and then this is the rest of the desk just coming together. I ended up putting a lava lamp on it, which yeah, lava lamp in just a second, which I don't use nearly enough. Oh, and a pride flag, another thing I don't use very often. But like, oh, I put the lava lamp over here, right? But like between the two of those, I think they're both fun items. It's just like, especially the lava lamp, is the kind of thing that I feel there's like it's more situational than other items and other like ideas I like to implement into my build for like characters and stuff. And also here you can see me struggling to like move things away from the wall just because the curtain was cutting in a bit more than I would have liked. And I don't know why, but for some reason trying to move them with the tool mod was giving me trouble. I think it's because I had like I think it's just because of the things I had selected. It just didn't like that I had all the it just didn't like that I had all of those selected. Sorry that that fell apart. Yeah. And then here I'm finally cluttering up this what's gonna call it? The makeup table or the vanity. I'm just finally cluttering up that vanity. Yes. Which funny enough, when I was testing out the build, I had like a sim on the live, and she started getting really lonely and like was like, "Please, I want to talk to someone." And so I was like, "Oh, just go talk in the mirror." But she was like standing in the kitchen where there are no mirrors, and was just talking to a mirror that was like across the house. It was really weird, but it was kind of funny. Sometimes The Sims is funny like that. Anyway, you may be noticing I did not do anything with the exterior until the very, very end of this build. That's just because I knew I wanted it to be white because I've been looking at a reference image that was just like a white house. And I thought, oh, that's a good color scheme. And like, come to now that I look at this in hindsight, I think I use the white siding too much. I'm just drawn to it really easily. I think just because it's like plain, simple, works, but I want to branch out with colors more. Like in my spare time, I built a pink house. I want to do another one of those because that was really fun. But I will admit, the white with like the light brown, it looks way too good. I can't stop. And then I also put like some seating outside, just like some stuff outside. I wanted to make this place look like friendly and inviting. I wanted to have some curb appeal because the image I had that I was referencing was like 5 ways to bring personality and curb appeal to cookie cutter suburban houses or something. It was just like on Google Images. I just looked at random pictures of houses, which that's it. That's my secret. That's how I have built every single house I've made. And then also the one last thing I should probably mention regarding the house is I built this on a 30 by 30 originally, but you'll see in the upload it's on a 30 by 20. That's because I was building and I realized that the only extra space I was using like was in the back of the house and not the sides of the house, and like the 20 tile dimensions on the sides perfect, worked fine for me, but the 30 in the back was like I was using that up as much as I could. So I was like, well, I can't move this to like a 20 by 20, but the 30 by 30 seems excessive, so I just moved it to a 30 by 20. And like in hindsight, maybe I could have used the 20 by 40 because I know that I have a hard time building on that just because I'm never sure what to do with it because it's such a weird, awkward shape. Uh, but this could work if you wanted like a really, really long backyard. So like, I don't know, food for thought. Anyway, I'm finally coming up on the landscaping that I did for this house. I wanted to go for something that was light, not super like invasive, I guess like offensive to the eye. So I just ended up going for a lot of kind of yellow colors. So it's light, it's bright, and I feel like it's not clashing. That's the word I wanted. It's not clashing with the house too much, just because one like one thing that The Sims has actually really taught me that I actually have carried out to my life beyond the game, especially when I was working in the garden center, was like it's very, very possible to make the color of like your landscaping clash with the color of your house. And I feel like with a white house it doesn't really happen. But if you had like a blue house, I don't know, maybe there's some colors of flowers you shouldn't use if you want the house to like look cohesive and like put together. But I don't know. That's just my opinion from like watching people play The Sims and like getting ideas of landscaping from that, as well as seeing people actually landscape their houses. And also like the colors of of flowers and stuff in The Sims are going to be so much more dramatic than actual flowers. Anyway, this is the backyard. It's very small. This is why I said you're so right to like put this on a 20 by 40. Well, the 20 by 40. I don't think there's any other 20 by 40s in the game. It's very tragic. Um, but yeah, I feel like this is totally appropriate to make the backyard larger. But at the same time, this isn't like a bad sized backyard. I end up being able to fit like a swing set. I have a really big decking area, with like a whole separate dining area and everything. And really, I feel like, oh no, I was thinking this is a house where you could live, you could laugh, and you could love. Because it, I just wanted to make like a kind of cozy, friendly, like family space, and that was the first thing that came to mind. Oh no, but whatever. The build's almost done. Thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to download this. It will be on my website, which is always linked in the video description. Um, and there's a couple seconds left in the video, but it's done now, so I'm gonna say goodbye.